All right, guys, got another topic that is somewhat of a rant, and you guys have asked about this in a couple different videos for me to kind of break the fourth wall to speak. And maybe it doesn't really pertain to this, but I think it kind of does. I think breaking the fourth wall is pertaining to like a fiction in a movie. And that's kind of the point here. And this is no disrespect to a company, any person individually. I think I've said this in some ways before. I'm probably guilty of this to a certain extent, although I try very hard not to be. What I'm talking about is this idea of truly giving an unbiased review. I know a lot of you guys see this and definitely notice it, but it's one of these unspoken things. I believe in this growing home fitness review kind of network that, like I said, is continuing to grow. And I think it's kind of evolving as we speak here, because early on, a lot of these companies that were sending out stuff for review, quote unquote, I'll say that kind of loosely and I'll get to that, were really just giving any product out with anyone with a pulse, maybe with an affiliate link, maybe not. I think 9 times out of 10, there was no affiliate link and simply just wanted free equipment. Oftentimes, I know there's a lot of people just like free equipment so they can go ahead and just kind of flip it and then sell it so they get something out of it, or they just get kind of free equipment to begin with. But now I'm starting to see the trend shift a little bit more dramatically, where a lot of companies, and this is always kind of happening, and I used to want to say the overseas companies were more guilty of this. I'm starting to see this more so in the American-based companies, and maybe for due reason, because again, this is kind of an evolving landscape here. And it should go without saying, guys, when I'm talking about critiquing things such as giving a truly unbiased review, I do recognize the fact that people have to make a living. Some people, this is their straight up their livelihood, or greatly it supplements their income, all of which I can definitely relate to. And I think there's kind of a juggling act for a lot of these guys to actually give a review. And I keep giving air quotes, but what I mean by that is I think it's hard to actually give a review if there's some sort of financial incentive. If you say anything is somewhat bad or somewhat critical, there's not going to be a sale to be made any way, shape, or form. In fact, I just did a review not too long ago. I showed someone, a family member, and their first reaction was, you can tell you were very honest in the review. And I was trying to be respectful too, but I think there's definitely some pros and cons to this thing. But the person said, yeah, no one's gonna buy this. And I said, yeah, you're probably right. And again, it kind of makes you feel like if you're making the content, well, that was all just kind of a waste of time. So I do think people should be compensated for their time, and this gets into the idea of like kind of paid promotional stuff versus a review. And this is the thing that's kind of getting me to do this somewhat of a rant here. I'm not complaining. I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I get from a lot of these companies, but my opportunities are dwindling fewer and fewer, to the point where it's coming down to this, basically, the point of this video. People are saying they really value my honest reviews. They want to send me something for me to check out. And pretty much I don't do a whole lot of if there's a lot of back and forth talk and a lot of like loops you got to hurdle, I just tell them, respectfully, I'm not going to do this. And oftentimes that's fine. Sometimes they won't leave you alone till you kind of agree to some terms. But for the most part, I just say, I'll check it out. If it's something I like, which already if I'm looking at it, there probably should be something I like about it, or I think you guys get something out of it. If it's something I like, I will cover, and I will be straightforward and honest with you guys, highlighting the pros, and then of course the cons as well. And I think an affiliate definitely makes sense because I don't do any paid promotional videos. And before I get to the point of that, I want to get to the main crux of this. I know I'm all over the place here, guys, as usual. What is happening is people are saying, we value your honest reviews. We want you to check out the product. You get the product. You give them some sort of feedback, or they watch the review, and this is kind of what happens. Or they send you the product, this is happening too, and then they kind of put their terms of what they want you to say, in which case you're going back and forth being like, yeah, I'm not doing any of this stuff. I can respect some of these things, like X amount of coverage. You want to see certain features. I mean, that's totally fine. I totally get that. And I understand too, they want you to totally understand the product, but a lot of people want to check over the video. They want to make sure things look okay, and then they'll give you the okay to actually go ahead and release the video. That to me is not an honest review. I'm also not trying to be cryptic, but a lot of these companies I'm speaking of, you're just not going to see because I'm just not going to do business with them in that matter. And not trying to sound like I'm a saint or anything like that. It's getting incredibly difficult, don't get me wrong. Then companies come back once they see the review and they kind of complain that you didn't do X, Y, and Z, or worse yet, they accuse you of, they got families at stake, X, Y, and Z. And I've always said, I try and respect and recognize there are people behind the company, which is why I don't say something is outright horrible. And I think thankfully at this point, I haven't really come across any product that I would say is horrible and not to buy it. So unless it's totally unsafe, that's kind of a different thing altogether. But going on to the idea of like a review versus a paid promotional video, that is a thing I've talked about in the past, and that's coming up more and more often, where I am noticing paid promotional videos that are considering them calling a review. I'm not knocking those people because maybe they definitely could be, I'm not saying that. But what I'm running into personally is that companies want me to do a paid promotional video. Otherwise, you can't even do the video at all. And I appreciate, yeah, they're going to pay me for my services, but I say, it's not really a review. It is now a showcase of a product. And I think that is totally fair. If you want to showcase something, you're getting paid for your services. And hopefully, yeah, if it's something you think is somewhat legitimate, then you'll go ahead and do that. And that's what I try to do here on the channel, guys. I try and showcase things that I think are legitimately cool. There are a lot of things out there. There are a lot of things out there that I personally would not use, and that's the reason why I just personally cover it. I can't get behind something and review something if I know I'm never going to touch this or it's really going to collect dust. Unless on some rare occasions, I know there's a big part of my audience that wants to see this and or it's not getting coverage, maybe in some sort of niche-based things. And what also is something to be considered, and I say this to every single company, is that I really do try and use things, not just after the review, but then I keep trying to giving a second and third and fourth chance with it. So the Anchor Pro, I said, had some limitations, even though it says train without limits. I'm just using this for an example here. But I'm actually starting to use this thing a lot more on the foot plate function, and I can see where it can be a tool in doing some creative things. But there are definitely some limitations and some reasons where that particular product doesn't make sense. That is just an example of something that I thought was really cool. I think at first it has some ups, it has some downs, but now I'm finding some new things with it that I think for some people might work out with it. But by and large, if there's something in here that I'm going to promote and plug, shameless plug right now, not a paid promotional thing, such as I got some new banners up here by this company, Operational International. They did give me an affiliate link, and I got some really cool t-shirts. Thought the brand was very cool, and I actually reached out to them because I wanted to put some more flags and banners up here. You might see some other stuff here that I'll probably be selling in the near future, but somewhat sound the alarm of what is going on here. My point is, as you can see, the financial incentive and some sort of bias that comes into reviewing, engaging these home gym products starts to get higher and higher, and the idea of getting an authentic review becomes lower and lower. But end of the day, guys, I just think you have to be mindful of the fact that the business side of this is starting to creep up even higher and higher, and the smaller people, smaller channels are really having kind of either to make two decisions. They either have to kind of just take whatever is given to them and kind of shell out for a company, or they have to really be really strategic in finding the things and the companies specifically they want to work with and nail down those individuals. That's what I'm trying to do. Of course, I want to try new things, but it's getting harder out there, guys, to find companies that want to really give out really honest reviews and not have any kind of double speak or any kind of language that has to go into a certain video. I can always do a follow-up, guys, on the companies that I do think are very cool, they've had some great experiences with. Maybe I can do it in a future video. Otherwise, though, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know your comments down below about this whole landscape. And if you got any feedback from me, I'd be happy to hear it as well. See you guys.